Hey Cancer, welcome back for your July reading. Okay, quick little story. I have been trying to set up and film for your reading for over an hour now. And every time I try to do it, something else happens, something else comes up, some other distraction. And I didn't think I was going to be able to get to your reading. I was like, what is happening right now? And then I realized, hello, Boomer. The little guy's in here. One of the said distractions. I realized that, of course, as I'm looking at your astrology here, Neptune has been retrograde. Neptune in Greek mythology is the ruler of the sea. Cardinal water, you guys, you are the ocean. So your ruler has been retrograde since the start of your season, which is very much like the tide receding into itself. And I want to remind you guys that as I talk a little bit more about the astrology, this is just a brief overview of some of the things that you can expect. I provide on my website, guidedmetanoia, METANOIA, a much more detailed description of what to expect in terms of the planetary transits and what they mean for each of the signs for the month of July. It is something that I intend on promoting every month until for some reason that piece of creative endeavor decides that it's no longer useful. It is free of charge, but I like to do it because the astrology really is a very detailed organism, and I don't want to take a lot of time away from the tarot because the tarot has its own messages and its own meanings, and I don't want to dilute that with the astrology. So that the astromaps on my site are where you can get greater insight as to how this month's total solar eclipse and the partial moon eclipse are going to affect you and other signs, all the other signs, and as well as some of the other planetary transits. So, speaking of which, we will have Neptune going in direct motion on July 1st, which is fantastic. So now the tide can begin to make its way back to shore. As it does that, it will gain, and you will gain, a sense of momentum as any type of, I don't want to say recession because that's not quite the word. The way that I picture it is more like pulling back, launching an arrow. And that if things feel very slow during the Neptune retrograde, let them feel slow. Don't try to be overtly persistent. Don't try to force things in a direction that clearly the energies are telling you is not necessary. Okay? So, on the following day, we will have the total solar eclipse. Now, for earth and water signs, I think a total solar eclipse is a lot easier to navigate because you're of the feminine energies. And so, when there is a lack of light, it's like walking into a dark room, and it's easier to navigate a dark room when you allow your other senses to kick on. And the way that I see that is the earth signs and water signs, or anybody that has very significant placements in Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, or Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, will experience a much easier time through the total solar eclipse. And what it is difficult to do during a total solar eclipse, is to create something new, to try to gain some type of awareness, to to sort of, yep, there's the Hangman. I pulled the Hangman on my, as this week's tarot card, which I'll be posting later today. So soon, actually, as soon as I'm done with the reading. By the way, today is June 25th, in case that makes any difference. I'm going to try to be in the habit of getting these filmed and posted. I don't know that I want to wait and launch them. So I think the total solar eclipse is going to be much easier for you to navigate and for you to experience a sense of peace, if I could say it like that. You're driven by the light of the moon. That is where your greatest insights come from. That's where your motivations come from. That is where you're centered at. And so the light of the sun only seems to draw too much light, and maybe creates too much awareness about certain things. And I think that there will certainly be a shifting of the energies during the solar eclipse that masculine need to control, have to plan, have to focus, have to do, is going to be replaced by this softer, feminine, absorbent energy that will allow for greater expression. I am here to tell you that your psychic intuition, your creative abilities, your sense of expression will all go through the roof during that time on July 2nd. And then, of course, we'll experience the full moon in Capricorn on the 16th. If you haven't been paying attention to what specific theme is running through your relationships, I would tell you you're going to need to go back to January to really look at that. January kind of started the clock in terms of what you need to be looking at that is coming I'm sorry, I don't know why my nose gets so itchy the moment I start this stuff. I know it's terrible. There is a very specific pattern. There's a very specific lesson. There's a very specific cycle that has been turning since January in the area of your relationships. And there is a very culminating moment that will also happen for your sign specifically on the 16th in the area of your relationships. So you'll have to fill me in as to what's going on. Mercury is going to be in your second house in Leo, and Mercury is going to be going retrograde as of July 7th, and it's going to be in retrograde until August 1st. For details as to how to navigate a Mercury retrograde, because that is the planet of communication, I will have that information specifically in the astro maps. Again, I don't want to take too much time to go over that here, but you will be experiencing a Mercury retrograde in your second house, which can create delays around money, difficulty around communicating your sense of needs and values, and you can read more on my website, guidedmetanoia, and look for the Astro Maps tab up at the top. Venus is going to enter your sign on the 3rd, and it will have brought with it some very important messages from your 12th house, because that's where it was for most of June. It was navigating through your 12th house of the subconscious. And Venus through the 12th house is a lot like Persephone coming out of the depths of the underworld. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you should totally look up mythology. But it's having this sensible and yet almost forgiving quality about the real dark things that we know exist inside each of us. And while it may appear frightening initially, it is, Venus always brings about this sense of love. And so as she begins to move into your sign on the 3rd, there are going to be some very valuable lessons that she will be carrying with her from your house of subconscious. And that's going to look a little different for everybody. I'm interested to see how lessons around love, forgiveness, acceptance, compassion come into play. Jupiter is going to be continuing its retrograde transit in your 6th house. Saturn and Pluto are retrograde in your 7th house of relationships. Neptune and Lilith are still in your 9th house of higher learning and travel, worldly exploration. Chiron is in your 10th house of career, and Uranus is in your 11th house, which really speaks to your sense of individuality in groups, and I'll have more details of that in the astromap. So, oh, it's a cat. Hello. Listen, I'm not refilming. I've done this like 16 times. Y'all better stop. Okay, so let's get into the tarot. The cards that we have pulled: 5 of Pentacles, 8 of Swords, King of Swords, 7 of Cups, the Hanged Man, 2 of Staffs, and the Death card. So, what is the tarot talking about? Well, the 5 of Pentacles and the 8 of Swords really talks about poverty consciousness. What I mean by poverty consciousness is experiences that we've had in our lives that have communicated to us in certain ways that we are somehow unworthy or undeserving or not good enough. It is very much a victim mentality where there is a cycle that is occurring for you in which you are somehow giving your power away in that you are not able to receive not only the help you need, but allow you to take the responsibility that you need to create certain changes in your life. And it ties back to the belief that somehow you believe you're not worthy of having it. And if you don't take the time to really look at how your thought system, your belief systems, your internal dialogue is supporting this poverty consciousness, you will have a very hard time of achieving the kind of success that you want, being open to the abundance that life is willing to offer you. And truth be told, that it really is a matter of the mind. And so the King of Swords speaks to developing a very controlled and mastered approach at the mechanisms of the mind. There is a sense of mental mastery that happens with this card. The King of Swords is about creating a very decisive and diplomatic approach in your way of thinking. And what I would tell you is if you have thoughts that like this opportunity can't happen for me, or that's never going to happen, I'm not going to I'm not going to be able to get that raise. I'm not going to be able to finish school. I'm not going to be able to earn my own money. I mean, poverty consciousness is about being undeserving, thinking that you are undeserving, and then acting from that thought. But if you don't spend any time thinking about what are the thoughts that you say to you, what is this dialogue that's happening between you and you, you will not be able to see how you trap yourself from opportunities that are looking to come in for you. And in order for you to break that system down, you will have to begin to create a new dialogue, one that is much more controlled, one that is also very, the word that comes to mind is stationary, but I think what I mean behind the word stationary is that it's a decision that's made and then stuck to. So like, I'm not going to talk negatively to myself anymore. I'm not going to criticize my body like I do. I'm not going to think that people are out to hurt me. I'm not going to think that I'm not going to be able to get this opportunity or this raise or this job or this house. This is about having a fair and just manner towards everything. Towards everything. This person is not only is he like a legal counsel, but this person holds a very specifically strict structure about himself. This guy comes with a lot of rules. He has a lot of rules. And maybe that's what you need to put in place. Like, nope, we are not doing negative self-talk anymore. Nope, I am not going to have relationships with people that don't appreciate me. Nope, I'm not going to. And then this is about upholding those rules. Then we've got the Seven of Cups and the Hanged Man, which is a very needing to take a step back because things do not appear with enough certainty for you. Your emotions are somewhat misleading, and what may have felt right before may not feel right currently, and what fulfills you and what is necessary now in your life to fulfill you may not be clear. You may not understand, well, is it new relationships? Do I need new and better relationships with people? Is it money? Is it money that's going to make me happy? Is it power? Is it a greater connection with God? You don't know yet. And you are going to have to take time out to gain a new perspective. You are going to have to use the pause that will come probably through the middle of the month, maybe right around the time of that full moon, to allow you to find a new way of seeing this situation, the situation that is at hand. And once you have allowed yourself to step back, to reflect, to gain a new and alternative perspective, and you give yourself enough time to do that, you will then be able to come and make a decision. You will see that you are at a crossroads where you are going to have to go in two directions. And the way that I see it is that you can either go back to this fearful person, to this way of thinking about yourself that you don't get what you deserve and that you are not worthy of certain things, and this kind of stuff always happens to me, this cyclic the cyclical pattern of less than, or moving into, I don't think like that anymore. I know what I deserve. I know that the thoughts that I have are just mere illusions. And when you see that, and it will become very clear for those of you that will resonate with this reading, you will come into a very specific standing where you will see yourself in, I am either going to do this or I'm going to do that. And in order for that to happen, something will have to end. Something will have to end immediately. And the thing I can tell you is around the time of the eclipses speak to new cycles. New cycles ending, new cycles beginning, old cycles ending. And that is what the death card is speaking to. Because not only, I mean, yes, it's sort of a morose and maybe fear-inducing kind of card, like, ooh, death. But just on the other side of death, and in fact, even in the same card, there is something being born. Okay? So, there is a new cycle that is beginning for you, Cancer. And it is very important that you leave behind not only the kind of thoughts that entrap you, the thoughts where you don't win, where you're always the victim of a situation, where other people are either out to have power over you, or just that you are not good enough and you're not worthy. And that way of being is going to have to, it's going to have to end. But the universe is not going to do that for you. I just want to remind you, like, as good as the tarot is, you still have the free will of saying, I'm not going to do the work that's necessary to identify where I limit myself and how I perceive myself as being so unworthy. And two, if you do not make the conscious choice to change your thought system, to really work on adjusting the beliefs that you have about you. And if you don't know how to do that, you need to work with someone who has either gotten the results that you want, is familiar with that particular type of transformation, and ideally someone who is a professional at helping others do that. Someone like me, someone like another life coach, or a spiritual teacher, or a counselor, or a therapist. Someone who is capable of helping you make that shift is supported. So let's pull an oracle card from the Osho Zen deck for you for the month of July. See, the thing is, as I look at your cards, I really see that you want this new thing. Oh, and transformation came out. Okay, which is essentially is the death card. Okay, you are becoming someone new, like completely from the inside out. You are becoming something new, someone new. Oh gosh, my nose is so itchy. I'm so sorry. Transformation. Go. central figure in this card sits atop the vast flower of the void and holds the symbol of transformation. The sword that cuts through illusion, the snake that rejuvenates itself by shedding its skin, the broken chain of limitations, the yin-yang symbol of transcending duality. One of its hands rests on its lap, open and receptive. The other reaches down to touch the mouth of a sleeping face, symbolizing the silence that comes when we are at rest. This is a time for a deep letting go. Allow any pain, sorrow, or difficulty just to be there, accepting its facticity. It is very much like the experience of Gautama Buddha, when after years of seeking, he finally gave up, knowing that there was nothing more that he could do. And that very night, he became enlightened. Transformation comes like death in its own time, and like death, it takes you from one dimension into another. This is awesome. I literally have the chills right now. Cancer, you're going through a massive transformation. And it's a beautiful process, and I do see in many of these cards how painful, especially the Eight of Swords, speaks to the kind of pain, the mental entrapped pain that we can experience. And I would love it if you would share this video with other Cancer friends. If this video resonated with you, please give it a like. And if you like what I'm about and you're digging the videos, please do subscribe, because I want to grow the channel for sure. And like I said, I'll have the astro maps out for you guys as soon as possible. And I look forward to seeing you in August for your August reading. Peace. Enjoy your season. It's going to make you fucking awesome. It's going to make you fucking awesome. Like, know that. Love you. Bye.